Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back. Kellen here with Droid Life. So we've got in front of us, well, this is the OnePlus 5T. This is OnePlus's brand new flagship phone. You can tell because, well, it has a fingerprint reader right there on the back. So we've had one in-house now for, I don't know, 3 or 4 or 5 days or something. But we know that a number of you have ordered the phone and your orders have either arrived or will soon. And so we want to make sure you know exactly what to do when you get that phone out of the box. So let's dive into this. These are the first 10 things to do with your OnePlus 5T. So to kick things off, we'll start with the tip we almost always tell you no matter what the phone is at this point, and that's to set up that fingerprint reader, and then we'll add to that this time by also saying you may as well set up OnePlus's Face Unlock because it's actually pretty darn fast. So fingerprint readers, for those who haven't followed us for years, we always tell you to set those up because it's a secure convenience thing where if you leave your phone behind, it's now secure and locked behind a fingerprint. If you have it on you, it's much easier and quicker to slide a finger over that to unlock your phone than it is to enter in a pattern or password or something like that. And of course, you don't want to just leave your phone fully unlocked at this point. It's 2017 and there's bad guys everywhere. So anyways, to set those up, we'll go ahead and jump into settings. We'll hit settings, and then there's a security and lock screen section down here, and we'll tap on that. And from in here, there's a screen lock item up top. You will tap that, set up pattern, password, whatever you want to set in there. Mine's set up as a pattern. And then down here in this fingerprint section, that's where you get to add fingers. So you just tap add finger, enter in your pattern, and then you just start putting the fingerprint over the fingerprint reader in the back. You can see I'm doing that now with my middle finger, and it's reading it. It takes, I don't know, 10 times or so, and then it adds your finger. And you can add multiple. You can see an add another down there. Otherwise, you just click done. Now, I typically do both index fingers when I'm doing rear fingerprint readers because those are the only ones that ever seem to slide back there. But I do both because if I pull the phone out of whichever pocket, I want to make sure those fingers are ready. So once those are set up, you can then go and do Face Unlock if you want. So Face Unlock, again, requires pattern or password. If you don't have face data in here already, you will train it, and all you do is line your face up into a silhouette on the screen. I'd show it to you, but I'm behind a camera and the lighting in here is all right here, so it might not work so well. But that's how it would work. You just kind of line your face up and it'll tell you how to do it. Once that's done, you can then allow Face Unlock just in general to unlock your phone. And then this is the auto unlocked after screen is on. And so if you have that toggled on, if you're at your screen lock and you wake your phone and you're looking at it, recognizes you, it'll instantly jump through and unlock the phone. And it's ridiculously quick, I must say. Now, I don't know if this is as secure as Apple's Face ID or other options out there like those from Samsung, but it works pretty well and it's going to be really tough to trick. So feel free to give it a shot. For sure, do fingerprint readers. The Face Unlock stuff is sort of up to you, but we sort of like these options. And if you have both of on there, you never know which one might pop up and work the fastest for you. So anyway, those are there. And from there, I thought we'd just talk about some of the gestures and stuff you can do when the screen is off, some quick ways to access things like, say, the camera. I could draw a circle and that'll actually launch my camera, and then I can take pictures. Some other things you can do from the lock screen or basically from anywhere is double tap the power button. That will also launch the camera. If you want to do some other things, I think I have it set to draw a V that turns on the flashlight. And you can see that, and I can draw a V and that'll turn that back off. Of course, you have double tap to wake, so I can double tap and that wakes my phone. I don't know if there's double tap to go back to sleep. Yep, there is actually double tap to go back to sleep from the lock screen. So these are some of the things you can do from just the lock screen where you don't necessarily need to press a button. So in order to access these, we go into settings, and sort of up top here, there is a gestures section. So if we jump into gestures, you will see, well, you can swipe for notifications on that fingerprint reader. So if I swipe on that, you'll see that brings my notifications down, and I can swipe it once or twice to get it to go back up. I can swipe it once to go back up, and I can swipe it twice to get into my notification shade up there with all my quick settings. So that's actually how that works. You just do a little finger swipe on there. You can turn that on or off if you want. There's a long press to take photo gesture. So if I'm actually in the camera and I want to take a picture, and this probably comes in more handy when you want to do a selfie, but if I just press and hold my finger on that fingerprint reader, you can see it will actually snap a photo. So I think the camera's picking that up. You can see it just kind of doing a flash. That's all by me just long pressing on that. So anyways, just another gesture. There's flip to mute in here, and there's a 3-finger screenshot thing where if you just swipe with 3 fingers, it'll take a screenshot, and you can edit those and all of that. Actually, OnePlus adds some nice features to that. Down here is where you get into those gestures where you can draw an O over the camera or a V or whatever. You can, there's other letters you can do. You can customize it to be whatever you want. Double tap to wake, that's where you would turn that on as well. So those are just some of those things you can do from almost any screen or from the lock screen. Really highly suggest you take advantage of those. From there, though, let's jump into to the home screen, we might as well get this set up. So OnePlus ships a launcher out of the box that looks sort of like Google's launcher, but it's not the Pixel launcher. It's kind of like Launcher 3 for those of you who know what Launcher 3 is. You don't have Google Now off to the side, just so you know, but you do have a swipe up into the drawer and you can scroll through this. You can do it by letter as well, using that fast scroll. It's got, long press for these app shortcuts. This is running 7.1.1, but those are on there. The big thing though is to long press to get into some of the settings. So you can obviously adjust wallpaper and choose widgets. That's not necessarily unique to this phone, but if we go into settings, you'll see in here there's an option for the shelf. So I don't use the shelf, but if we turn the shelf on and swipe over here, you can see here is the shelf. And this is just essentially shows you their sort of version of Google Now, if you want to call it that. But you can add widgets and things over there. It could be useful. I just don't find any use in it, but that is the shelf, and that's how you find it over there. So in settings, I'm going to turn that back off. You'll see a swipe down option in here. What that's talking about is swiping down to get to the notification shade. So what that means is you don't have to reach all the way up here. You can actually just swipe down right here, and that will pull that down. You can just swipe down right here, and that'll pull that down. Worth taking a look at. There are app shortcuts, which I just showed you, or long press on icons. You can get to those. If we long press and go back in, the big one is icon pack. This phone does fully support icon packs. If you want to go into the Play Store and find an icon pack that you like, you can do that, and they will show up down here in this list. There's actually a more button there too, and I believe that just takes you to icon packs in the Google Play Store. But you can switch between some of the base ones that are installed from OnePlus and change the shape of those. I installed something that mimics the Pixel icon experience, so that's why I have those going on. Finally, home screen layout, you can adjust the number of columns and also the icon size. Pretty self-explanatory stuff, and that is pretty much it. So again, it's worth going in and customizing. Obviously, you can drag things over and create new pages. You can go up and edit items, uninstall them, remove them really quickly from just by grabbing an icon. That stuff's not necessary. And again, the shelf's over there if you want it, not Google Now though. All right, speaking of notification shade though, let's go ahead and swipe this down. I always like to tell you to customize this area. So you do that by swiping it so you can see them all, and then you hit this little pencil button, and that lets you get into this editable screen where you can drag and drop icons and adjust them to be in whichever order you want. You can see they actually have some that are down in this area that don't normally by default show up here. So like reading mode, maybe you read a lot of books and you want to have reading mode handy. You can drag that up there. There's a gaming do not disturb mode or your cast button. All that stuff you can have up here if you want. The big thing though is to get these first 6, at least 5 or 6 set up, because those are the ones that when we are in this section right here, you get to access those first. So Wi-Fi, rotate, night mode, battery, and flashlight are the ones I use the most. So I made those my first 5, and then Bluetooth's there as well. And so I would really suggest adjusting those first 5, because when you get to this section, you can get to those with only a single swipe down rather than a double swipe down. From there, we'll go ahead and jump back into settings, and we're gonna start walking through some of these things. So the first thing is the alert slider. So you guys know with OnePlus phones, they do indeed come with an alert slider, and the 5T is no different. So that alert slider allows you to, well, go from silent mode to do not disturb mode to just full ring and sound with just the switch, or the flip of a switch, I should say. You can slide that up or down, and it actually is kind of a nice button. It's Apple. It's reminiscent of Apple, I guess I should say. And nobody else is doing this outside of OnePlus, but it's kind of one of those unique features they have. So anyways, this is where you customize what everything does. So when you're in silent mode, you can actually adjust it to allow alarms to ring, or media, to mute media volume while you're doing that, or enable vibration if you wanted to do that rather than just be fully silent. You can also go in and change your do not disturb settings to allow certain calls to come through, or notifications, that sort of thing. That's all adjusted within here. And then your full ring mode, just the only option there is just to also allow it to vibrate when you have calls incoming. But anyways, you get to that by settings, and there's a customization section, and it is the top one. The next thing I would say is set up buttons. So with this phone, it's a little bit different than previous OnePlus phones, because that fingerprint reader is now moved to the back, and that means those capacitive buttons that were once there are no longer there at all. So if we go into buttons, there's a little bit less to customize. You used to be able to switch between capacitive or on screen. Now it's always on screen, but what you can do is swap the buttons if you want, so you can make your back an app switcher switch if you are interested in doing that, going to like Samsung's weird layout or something. Up to you. I have it toggled on to hide navigation bar. And you'll notice I have this extra button over here. So if I actually tap on that, it'll make the navigation bar hide. And then you can tap that and then it'll stay persistent. We've seen this from Samsung and LG in particular this year a lot. But what that allows you to do is sort of customize the in-app experience depending on what app you're in. As far as I can tell, it has been remembering which apps I do want it to show and which I don't. So that's something to keep in mind. This is where your shortcut is. For powering the camera on with 2 buttons on that switch. I don't know why that's not in the gestures area, but it's not. It's in the buttons area, and that's that double tap there. The other things you can do, though, are adjust long press and double tap presses on these soft keys. So long press on home usually launches Google Assistant. I wouldn't necessarily change that, but you can also do a double tap to do something else. And you can do that with all 3 of these buttons. You can customize those. So double tap on, let's say, the app switcher, you could have it open Assistant also, or maybe just turn off the screen or do a voice search or open the shelf, whatever you want it to do. You can kind of customize it to do that. So I actually have one, just a double tap on home turns the screen off. So I double tap that and then my screen goes off. So it's just a quick way. Sometimes maybe I'm not up near the power button and I want to turn that screen off. I can just double tap there and do that. So just something to keep in mind there. Let's continue jumping through some settings though. So let's go into display settings, which are down here just a little bit. There's a lot of stuff to tweak in here. I'm not going to try to explain everything, but some of the stuff you might want to have on, like adaptive brightness. We'll try to adjust the brightness depending on your surroundings. Night mode. I'm a big fan of night mode. You guys know this. Again, I have a shortcut to it right there. And night mode turns your screen sort of this amberish color. It's really good at night. It really eases some of that blue light strain on your eye, and you can adjust this to being less strong if you want. You can also have it automatically turn on if you want, or you could just do like me and leave a shortcut up there and manually do it. There is a reading mode on this phone. I'm not going to turn on, but reading mode really takes you into a black and white mode that's really best for reading. It's kind of cool that they added this. I believe with the OnePlus 5, and it has returned here again. There's a screen calibration center here, so by default, it's a little more vibrant. You could go sRGB if you really want those sort of more natural muted colors. Those are there as well. And there's some other modes in here too, including a customized color, which really just allows you to make the display cooler or warmer. I've just kind of left it at default, but again, that's there for you to tweak. You can tweak you can tweak the theme of the phone into a light or dark. You can also add ambient display. So when you get notifications, the lock screen actually wakes up and shows you that you have a notification coming through. You can also have lift up display to turn it on, which means if it's sitting down and you pick it up, it'll actually wake that display when it's on the lock screen. Again, lots of stuff here in order for you to customize, so feel free to dive in there. We're going to go back, though, and go into sound and vibration. Again, a ton of stuff in here you should probably think about customizing. Obviously, you want to set up all of your sounds, like your ringtones and your notifications. And I will say OnePlus has some really nice sounding notification sounds, so play with those for a while. And I actually wouldn't mind if you left them on because they're actually pleasant to hear, unlike, Samsung's noises. But some other things in here I do really like are vibration intensity. So you can actually adjust the intensity of incoming calls in vibration as well as notifications and just on taps. So I do like it when people do that, and I believe LG's been doing this for a long time, but they really let you customize the vibration experience. You don't get that full customization here, but you do at least can go hard or soft or medium, somewhere in the middle there. And then you can actually adjust the pattern as well. There's also just additional sound toggles here, like for touch sounds. If you have sound on your touching things, you don't want it making those noises. This is where you would find that. There's also an audio tuner. If you have headphones plugged in, you can see you can adjust a bunch of the music settings. So again, feel free to jump in there. The next thing I would show you is to make sure you don't forget about multi-window and also Google Assistant, two very, very powerful tools. So multi-window, if say I'm in Chrome and I want to do 2 things at once, I just long press on that app switcher and that gets me into this multi-window experience. So I can then go to Twitter. And so now I could have Twitter up and you can adjust this. And so Twitter is bigger or Chrome is bigger. So you can adjust that a little bit. Again, multi-window has been around for a long time. I think sometimes we just forget about it. Not all apps play nicely with it, but enough of them do that you can start using it actually more and more and more. You can swipe all the way down to get back out of it, long press to get back into it. You guys get it. It's multi-window. As for Google Assistant, again, long pressing on home gets you into Google Assistant. If you want to fire that up, you guys know the command. I'm not going to say say it, but it is OKGOOGLE, and that'll fire that up and get you into the whole voice experience where you can find out the weather, control your home, get news, info, sports scores, whatever. Google Assistant is Google Assistant. It's getting better and better by the day. Most definitely set that up. And also you should set it up to respond to your voice, because I actually find that it's been really, really useful. And finally, though, the last of the first 10 things is let's just jump back into that camera, because there's actually quite a bit of stuff going on here. And so far, my testing of the camera has shown some really positive results. But anyways, when you fire up the camera, you don't necessarily have a settings area. All the settings you can adjust are at the top of the screen, depending on which mode you're in. So I'm in just regular camera mode. You can see up top, I can adjust the ratio. I can also adjust the flash. I can adjust the auto HDR mode. And then I can also adjust if I want a timer on. So I can adjust those, and that's sort of it from that main screen. If we swipe this way from left to right, that gets you into video. And again, you'll see the options up top there. If I tap on this 4K, you can see I've got 720, 1080p, and 1080p at 60 FPS up there. I went ahead and went with 4K. And then there's also, if you want to turn flash on or a light on. If we get back to the center and then swipe the other way, this is the depth effect or portrait mode. And so if you have this on and you've got enough distance in between you and your subject, you can actually blur out the background a little bit. And so far, I actually think it works pretty well. If I swipe back over there, there isn't many settings other than a timer there. You can also do some auto magic with faces, I believe, down there. If we do a swipe up, though, this is where a couple of additional modes have been hidden that I didn't realize for the first day or so. But anyways, this is where you can manually tap on video or manually tap on portrait. There's also slow motion in here, a pro mode, time lapse, and panorama. And again, those are kind of just hidden. You just do a swipe up on the screen in order to get into those. And then those settings are there as well. And then there's actually a few more settings that I kind of missed earlier. So in here, this is where you can turn on shutter sound, where if you want your location data stored, you can actually set up a grid if you want, which I'm a big fan of. Rear camera beauty mode, if you really want that beautification on there. You can add a OnePlus watermark if you really want to. And you'll see there's some additional stuff in here, and that's pretty much it, though. Most of the settings you're going to want to play with, what I meant to say is, are out on the camera screen, but here's some additional stuff in here. So anyways, that's been the first 10 things we think you should do with your OnePlus 5T. We'll have tips and tricks coming to further expound on this, and then we'll have our review after that. If you got any comments, questions, let us know. We're Droid Life. Peace.